Another thing we want to do is remember that we are shaping our kids' taste preferences. So we can do what I call the rotation rule, which is mixing up when you serve food, but start using the foods your kids only like, right? Because we can separate out the behavior issue of wanting the same food all the time from our parental concern that they're going to be hungry. So just take the foods that they're used to and switch up when you serve them. So for breakfast, don't serve the same thing 2 days in a row, in other words. So that's the first thing, the rotation rule. But we can also remember that when it comes to fruits and vegetables, we can be happy with what I call the happy bite, the 1 or 2 or 3 bites of the fruit or vegetable that kids will almost always take before we come along and say, hey, 3 more bites, right? And if we spread those out through the day, morning, snack, lunch, etc., then they get 2 or 3 bites all across the day. It's going to add up to be so much more than if we just save it till dinner and then we start, pounding down, just take 2 more bites, especially if we fed them a snack a few minutes earlier, right? We don't want to get in that control struggle with them.
Right. All right, Dina, it's time. Let's move on to feeder type 2, food police.
Okay, so you are part of the food police if you are really monitoring what your kids eat when it comes to processed food and sugar and junk. And if you have a mild case of this, you might just be hiding the sweets and treats in the house and doling them out selectively. But if you have a severe case of this, then your kids are never getting sugar. They're never getting processed foods. And the problem with this is that, forbidden foods, they become ever more attractive. And so these kids are at risk for binging. They're at risk for hoarding. So if you go into your kid's room and you find some wrappers underneath the bed, you probably need to recognize that you might be a member of this food police.
Well, I think that all of us as parents want our kids to eat healthily, and so to some extent we're always policing them. But it's extreme. Like the other day, my son had a friend over and we ordered sort of quote unquote healthy pizza, and his friend who was over, his mom does not ever allow him to eat pizza of any type, and that kid scarfed down like the entire pizza in 20 seconds.
Pies.
Right. Yeah, so I think you're right. It really sets up a very unhealthy sort of binge aspect when they finally have access to that food that they're not allowed to eat. They don't have any limits or any control.
So you're missing a teachable moment, right? Because you can be teaching them about moderation and control.
Exactly. So learning how to fit sweets and treats into their diet in the right way, that's a really important responsibility, and we need to focus on teaching kids that.
All right, last up is the comforter rewarder. So Dina, what style of feeding is this?
Okay, so the comforter is the parent who sees their child fall down and have a scrape and says, here's a lollipop or here's a cookie, right? So that's the mild case, but then the severe case of the comforter is the person who wants to feed away every emotion so that their kids will never have to experience that. And it's hard for us to see our kids suffer and feel sad or feel pain. But the problem with this one is that the research shows that if you use this a lot, if you're really feeding away the feelings, what happens is that those kids start to associate the feeling of sadness as if that is the feeling of hunger. And so then they launch into the world and they start feeding away their own feelings. And that's a problem, especially in an era of overweight and obesity.
Well, and I want to go to you, Dr. Ish. Obesity, we're the era of obesity, but at the same time, the era of food disorders.
Well, think about it, right? This is about reinforcement. What are we reinforcing and how often? We eat all the time, at least 3 times every day. And so those patterns get into your mind. Food police, suppression and rebound. You tell me I can't have it, now I really want it. And when I go, I'm gonna be like your kid with the pizza, I'm gonna get all of it, right? The comfort eaters is not just eating to feel full and satisfied, because we know that kind of bumps up your oxytocin and makes you feel better, but it's also the kinds of foods you eat. We like the fries, we like the mac and cheese because they're warm and they got a lot of serotonin in them, so they give us a quick bump, but they're also gonna give us a lot of extra calories, which causes problems down the road with obesity. And I get it, it's all coming out of love, but everything in moderation.
Yes. Grandmas across America and around the world, comforters.
Yes.
Like they will feed you anytime you look like you might be hungry. Like anytime, like, right? Right? Anytime.